go to Las Vegas, it's the same, and most other cities. And some other cities are still trying to introduce that because of the benefits that comes with it. And I think anything that you introduce in Ghana or you propose, you're going to get this reaction, especially if it is novel and many people are not abreast with how systems like this work. But I was surprised the vice president who lived abroad, who lived in the US, who lived in London and claimed he was a taxi driver, is also finding it difficult to explain what 24-hour economy is. You know, in the US, what they do is that they try to maximize whatever they do, whatever resources are available. Now, if you operate 24-hour economy, it means that most of the businesses will be opened. And government doesn't pass laws saying that you have to operate it. It's a voluntary venture. Companies sign in as part of their corporate decisions to maximize time. Let me give you an example of myself. When I came to the US, the first job I got was 12 to 8 in the morning shift. We call it a graveyard. Now, when I went, that was what they handed me. And I wasn't used to that because I had just come from Legon 1 week after completing Legon. So I was very naive in that direction. And I started it. It was difficult first, but I had to adjust to it. So the assumption is that a job was available because of the existence of 24-hour economy. If they weren't, perhaps I wouldn't have gotten because that was the only shift they have. So it expands the economy, and it has benefits to a lot of players. Government, number one, is going to increase government revenue because most of the companies will operate and then pay taxes. And also the economic activities that will be extended will all help to stimulate the economy. At the individual level, Ghana, we are used to doing one jobs. That is why most people are poor. Because you work in the morning, there's no job available for you to work in the evening. So even if you need extra income, you cannot get that. But in the US, it's very common for someone to work in the morning. You can even people do 3 jobs. And it all helps to, deal with the individual's financial situation. And the more you make, the more you become productive to the economy. So the 24-hour economy is operating. If you ask US to cancel it, they won't because it contributes substantially to their GDP. Now, if you look at the companies also, fixed cost is maximized. For example, if you rent a building, you rent it for a month. It's not just for hours. So if you use it in the night, you are maximizing it. Certain type of fixed costs will be maximized because the variable cost will also exist, but it will be offset by the, whatever profit you're going to generate more. And it offers also employment, and that can double our GDP, deal with unemployment situation. So there are a lot of advantages with it. You come to New York, most people can work in the morning, in the daytime. In the evening, they have a lot of bars open. They have a lot of entertainment centers that people go to. And this can also help in dealing with people's stress. You go to Dubai, they have similar. It's running 24 hours. And people who couldn't go to the market or to the mall in the morning, in the daytime, will go in the evening. And that is what it is going to be. One thing that we are failing to consider is that the world is going to come to a point where someone will wake up in Ghana and tell you that they're going to work, and you ask them where, they tell you Tokyo, Japan. We don't have the same time. Or the person will tell you in New York, because the technology is going to make that possible. And it's going to make it that way, because when people are sleeping, other people are going to be working. And the time difference is going to make it say that you are at work and you are really working as if you are in New York. Who has different time? I mean, we have 4 hours, 5 hours difference with Ghana. So you have to be operating as a 24-hour worker, because you work certain times that the other countries are supposed to be in the night, and then you are in the daytime. If I worked in international settlement, I was in the bank. I was dealing with Europe, Africa, and other places. And I usually will go to work at 2 o'clock, because Europe will be open before United States. So I had to operate in the night. And then that will be their morning. So if we don't do this right now, at some point we'll be forced to do it. And when he starts it, it's definitely going to work. And you will see that other countries will take, also start doing it. And that's where the world is going to be at some point.
Interesting. But I wonder why when you initially went there, it was called the graveyard.
We were doing security.
Okay.
The first job was security, because, and in a warehouse. So in a warehouse, the warehouse workers are working, and then we are the security there. So when you are working at that time, you are very lonely. The night can never be active like day, even in the United States, because most people want to be with their families at home, so they don't sign into the extended shift. There's some inconvenience in whatever you do. Even in the morning, some people would never want to work in the morning. We call it graveyard because of the security. I mean, it was a security job, and in security, you call it that because most of the supervisors will not be there. So you sometimes be alone. I mean, you will be very few. So it's just a name that people use. It's very quiet.
And then what would it take? Because you were talking about the venture being voluntary. So it means that a company, and the former president explained that it is up to a company to decide whether or not they will come on board. But what do you think it usually takes from experience? What does it take for a company to take up such an offer to work in the night, to be in the night shift, or to be part of the 24-hour economy venture?
Like I said, it's voluntary, but it helped the company, so it's a good corporate decision to make. Number one, in the night, you certainly need electricity. Even if we are not working, our lights are on. If we look at Ghana, mostly people use electricity in the night. When they come from work, lights are on to the following morning. So you're still using electricity. And instead of just having it, electricity is on and you're sleeping, you'd rather be working at that time. So for me, it won't affect anything, our energy. So you require energy. You need lights to be on. You also need security. And you see, we shouldn't think that it's only police that should provide security. In the US here, when I worked in security, we didn't have guns, we didn't have anything. The goal was not to make you kind of ward off people who are, bad guys through some confrontation. Communication is very important. So your job is just to call the police when you see anything unusual. And when police operate on communication, it becomes very, very effective. So in here, it's not that the police are strong. People can sometimes even kill police. But what it is that they can easily talk to each other and mobilize and get back up. So there's no way you can win. Even if they're doing a highways chase, no matter how you can speed, because they keep telling each other the person is coming. So there are other police that will really, really block you on the way. So if we are going to operate for our economy, we will need security. And you see, the private security is going to also provide employment opportunities. And also, people who own security companies, they will be able to operate. It's a source of business. So you are creating, a culture that can really make your economy grow. Private sector can never thrive without the private sector culture. It has its own culture. You come to the US, almost everything is owned by the private sector. But there's so much regulation. Everything government regulates. You can't do this, you can't do that. Just to protect ordinary people and people who are vulnerable in society, and to make sure that they maximize the economic benefit of whatever system. And we need to also start that. It's a private sector culture, and we should adopt it if we want to expand. I will only recommend that, and I know NDC usually does that, they will pilot it before they get into the, they don't just get up like the free HSS was introduced, like, okay, Tuesday is going to start. No, they're going to design the program, and then you sign into it. And once you sign into it and demonstrate that you are doing that, then the government will give you some tax breaks. And economically, if you get tax reduction, it's a cost to the state. The state is going to have some reduction in revenue. But what it does is that the corporate tax will go up. Like I always said, if you increase taxes, it doesn't mean that you get more revenue. But when you recruit more taxpayers, it expands the sources of tax revenue, and that can grow the revenue side of your budget. So it's always a good idea to encourage it, and a lot of players will come into being, and that will be facilitated. If we don't do it, like I said, now it's going to happen, and at that point we'll be running around to do it. So if they pilot it in two major cities like Kumasi, Accra, and see how it works a couple of months before they roll it out, and then companies will be signing into it. And companies who are coming to invest in Ghana, they will come and assimilate into the culture, because they won't see the difference between Ghana and the US. One more example, personal example I want to give you. When I worked in international settlements, usually in our banks, we usually have representatives in countries that we don't have branches. So what happened is that I used to call Ghana, because I was working in international settlements. So when I call Ghana, Stanbic, someone will answer it, So at some point, we developed personal relationship. And one day he told me, no, I'm not in Ghana, I'm in Dubai. I was very surprised. Because Ghana, we sleep in the night. They had to also get someone to station in Dubai to handle countries that were really open when they are asleep.
Oh,
so
really?
If that person, yes, if the system were in Ghana, then it means Ghanaian will get a job. You don't have to send someone to Dubai to really be answering calls, just like that. So this is going to cure a lot of things, and President Mahama should not spend too much time on explaining. People will understand. He should keep, the plan. And when it gets there, I mean, as a presidential candidate, he provides a vision. He doesn't have to give you every nitty-gritty. Once he come up with it, then the policy people will put it in the right frame. Then Ghanaians can benefit from it. And years to come, we will all assimilate into the culture, and we will enjoy it. In the night, You want to go and drink the whole night, you can do that. Daytime, then you go to work. And then if you want to work in the night, it's also going to be available. That doubles our GDP and begin to take us out of the crisis and the underdevelopment we've been stuck in for all these years.
Doc, thank you very much for your insights. It is quite helpful. Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, thank you.
Doc is a management and organization expert based in the US, and he was speaking to us and sharing with us his own personal experience. Now, let me read this one to you. This is from our friend Patrick in the UK. It says, 24-hour economy works perfectly in the UK. I work in the service sector, and the office complex we operate from is accessible 24/7. So